Pardon?
You're reading emails now.
Sorry.
You're reading emails now.
Yeah, yeah, they're just commenting on my picture of the puddle I sent out this morning.
What do they say?
Yeah, they'd never have drawn it.
Why not? Who's this?
Yeah, a local doctor. She draws as well.
And they wouldn't have drawn it, why?
Because they couldn't see it. It's interesting.
Uh-huh. But it is reflective surfaces that show up so well on this. Any illumination, but when you drew that tap,
Yeah.
there was a line along it.
Yeah.
And it just leapt into, it became real because of that line.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always pick a subject. You can on this, as I say, the sunrise. I wouldn't have drawn a sunrise with a pencil and a piece of paper. But with an iPhone, it becomes suddenly an interesting subject because you can get the glow, you can get colour there and so on. On the other hand, you don't always think of that when you just decide, I'll draw that. I mean, it depends on, it can be, but it can be in a way that it isn't for if you're drawing with pencil or charcoal. I mean,
but when you draw light as solids, those golden dashes and streaks you do, why do you do that?
well, you can see those actually.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look. For instance, have you been to Oslo?
Can't remember being to Oslo.
Oh, okay, the Munch Museum.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Munch Museum there. We went to Norway about 4 years ago. I wanted to go further north in the summer because Munch could look at the sun for a lot longer than Van Gogh could look at the sun, simply because he was a lot further north. And also it would linger for longer. And he saw lines in the sun that nobody else did, and they're about parallel round. And when you go there, you see this only in the northern place. And I pointed it out to somebody, and then there's these two enormous paintings in that museum of the sun, radiant sun. They're fantastic, enormous things. But it was a subject for him. You tend to think, the north is dark, of course. But whenever anybody walked to the North Pole, I did point out, it would have been in permanent daylight. It would never, they'd go at the time of year when it's permanent daylight. Otherwise, it's permanent night. And so you might as well go in permanent day, so you can save electricity, couldn't you? I mean, I do react to light. People all point out in the drawings, they know if I've gone somewhere. Knew when I was in California, straight away, some people said. You're in LA, aren't you? They tell from there.
But did you go to LA for the light?
One of the reasons, yes.
And do you come back here for the light?
Yes, in
it's
the sense,
marine light.
Well, I came back, California, remember the reason Hollywood's there is because the light's so marvellous in Southern California, they could film all throughout the year. That's why Hollywood started there. And it is 10 times brighter than it is here, if you know about it. On the other hand, what I missed, and it dawned on me slowly when I was first staying here about 14 years ago, you miss the seasons and the big changes, especially the big change from the spring, the winter to the spring. You knew Walt Disney's Fantasia,
Yeah.
the original version. I've always remembered this. The best thing in that original version was the Mickey Mouse Sorcerer's Apprentice, Paul Ducat's music for Sorcerer's Apprentice. And the worst one was The Rite of Spring, Stravinsky.
Oh, the abstract one.
I
Just
know
streaks.
it's got dinosaurs plodding
Oh,
on
yeah.
the desert.
God, yeah.
Okay. And it took me a long time, but I realised this is what must have happened. If you know Northern Europe, the big change from winter to the spring is very, very big. It's enormous. You go from the bleak winter to the rebirth, things coming up from the earth. The sounds of Stravinsky singing are the power of forces under the ground coming up that people would all have been impressed with, wouldn't after a long winter in Northern Europe. Spring is here, growth and this. 1939 in Southern California, they hadn't been to Europe for a long time. They'd forgotten about winter and spring and thought, force of nature, boom, 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 what's this? And so he put dinosaurs treading on the desert. Not that the music's about at all, not at all. I thought so when I was a kid, thinking, oh, this bit isn't right at all, I thought. And you can see now, I'm now articulating it, pointing out, because we did a version of it at the Met in New York in the 80s, actually. But it was, you know, I have a lovely garden in LA, actually. I have a very nice garden. And it was, and if you know plants, you do know, oh, well, it's spring, that plant's coming out. But you're not hit on the head with a big change as you are here.
Yeah.
Enormous change.
Are they dramatised in your videos, the snow one versus the summer one?
Yes, I'm passing it, yeah, we're putting them together that way. It's just the same little road, but how different, I mean, to us to me, it looks different every single day, for me. But most people wouldn't think that, but I can. I mean, you know, I want excitement in my life, and I can get excitement in my life, but I can get excitement from stuff that most people wouldn't. So I'm not complaining, and I'm not saying anything, but I'm well aware rain on a puddle can be a very exciting thing for me to watch, but loads of other people think it's a bore, you know. But okay, well, we're not all the same, really. But I always intend to have a very exciting life, and we get it here. We do. We think so. My little team. I have a very good little team here, and they think so.
How big's your team? There seem to be a lot of. There seem to be a lot of them.
Well, no. There's essentially John runs the house, and runs it, and then there's John, Dominic, and Jean-Pierre. And to do those films, we needed 4 people. It's quite a lot of work putting all the cameras together and what you're doing and so on. But it's just a small team. I don't want too many. I don't want. And so what we're doing is we think it's exciting. We think we're ahead actually here. We don't care. We think we're quite ahead.
Bridlington is the new Paris.
Pardon?
Bridlington is the new Paris.
Well, it's a new Giverny. I mean, it means you have to get out of a big city.
Oh, this is Hockney and Giverny then? Well,
no, I mean, but you need to. I can see why he wouldn't come here. We couldn't have done this in a big city. We couldn't have done what we're doing. We need a remote place.
You couldn't drive at 5 miles an hour down a road with 9 cameras on your car.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't. Certainly in the Cotswolds, you couldn't do that. It's too crowded, isn't it? Here we're living in a place where, actually, I think I said in Country Life, East Yorkshire was the worst place to live in England. We thought, we hope they keep saying that, actually. As far as we're concerned, it's very good to say that, because we don't make our living here, and we prefer it if most people stay away, of course they do. There's a lot of people live here think that as well.
Do you, as a matter of interest, now you've got the iPad, do you still draw with a pencil?
Well, yes, I do actually, yeah, because I paint with a brush. I mean, yes, you do. But I must admit, more and more I use this. If I was now, for instance, if I just wanted to go out and make some little drawing notes for the painting you're working on, in the past I'd have done it with a stick of charcoal on a piece of paper, And now we go and use the iPad. And just print it out when you come back. There was a whole wall, I don't know if you noticed it, there were really just sketches made on the iPad for a painting. Yeah, I mean, simply because you get very good at it, you've suddenly got this very complicated, marvellous visual tool in your pocket. Why not use it? So you're going to use it. I mean, there's so many ways you can use it. There's so many ways. I mean, I now see there's so many ways you could do an exhibition of the work on an iPad. We did it one way in Paris.
But you could print them as well.
Not using printing at all, just using projections. But you could use it. I mean, as I say, it's a tool that I'm fascinated by now. Look what I could show you on it. I can show you a great deal on it, really. I'm well aware most people my age haven't got them at all. I mean, I'm unusual now for somebody my age. Loads of my friends just don't want to know about it. I had to even tell one, David Hockney. I told him, I said, you know, you're getting like my mother. You have to realise, David, I said, in the, I think it was in the 80s, my mother, as she got older, they decided my sister-in-law was going to cook for her and bring her her food, but they got her a little microwave oven so she could heat up the food, you see, and just put it on. Anyway, she's still living in Bradford, and I go on a visit, and I'm sitting there, and I have some apple pie, and I eat the apple pie, and she says to me, well, what did you think of the apple pie then? I said, oh, it's very good. And she points up, looks to the microwave, points up, she said, I made it on the video. I baked it in the video. Well, I look up and laugh and smile. And of course there's a screen there, there's a button with numbers, and I think, well, okay, videos were pretty new then. But I'm going to tell you, my friends are like my mother now. I mean, oh no, I can't look at an iPhone, no, they can't do this. Frightened of them, actually, a little bit frightened. I said, well, they're not very difficult. I mean, you can do all kinds of things on them now.
Well, you said earlier that in spite of all of that, you quite liked the idea of leaving England now.
Sorry?
You said earlier you quite like the idea of leaving England now.
Well, I live wherever I happen to be, me. I mean, I thought for my old age I'd spend it in California, probably. Simply because it's too mean. It's too mean here, that's what gets me down. It's just the meanness. Relentless now, relentless. And when I complain to my friends, they don't complain, that's when I complain. I said, why am I the only smoker saying anything? Why don't others do it? I mean, even, I know Tom Stoppard still smokes, he did tell me, he said, well, you know, in California they think the choice is smoking or immortality. I said, they do think that, I know, they do. They've gone bonkers, really.
Okay, I'll stop.